In so many ways, this is the best of times in the gun community. Yet in so many other ways, this is a terrible time in the gun community. There is no shortage of good, inexpensive, striker-fired polymer 9mm pistols, and today is no different. Enter another offering, a full-sized Gen 3 clone called the Grizzly from Bear Creek Arsenal out of North Carolina. It's another in a long line of homages to one of the greatest pistols ever created by that Austrian horse guy who apparently made blinds and then made a pistol. A pistol so good that once the patent ran out, everyone ran to copy it. This can be a good and a bad thing. One, it muddies the waters, making it kind of a bad thing. But if you're a FUD, it's also a terrible thing because 2 world wars or something like that, conveniently forgetting Korea and Vietnam, other skirmishes before the Beretta N9 replaced your beloved 1911. But I digress. We're not here to talk about the fuddery. We're here to talk about the Gen 3 clone known as the Grizzly. Like I said, it's a full-size clone coming in at only $295 made here in America. You're going to get all the features that Glock never had up until about Generation 4. You're going to get a Picatinny rail up front. You're going to get the scalloped finger groove under the trigger guard. You're actually going to get a grip texture that works. And unlike some of the other grip textures, Bear Creek's Grizzly, something they call bear fur stippling, is actually very usable but not too harsh on your very delicate skin. You're going to get a decent set of sights. You're going to get a stainless steel barrel and a trigger that is actually really, really good. I can hear you saying it already, but I can buy a dagger for a little bit less or the same price. And yes, you can. But you're going to have to give up on the trigger. That's how good the trigger of the Grizzly actually is. Plus, you have an integrated flared mag well built into it. So how does it shoot? Is it any good? But Bear Creek Arsenal makes trash. I can hear you all saying it right now. Okay, I'm sure you've had some run-in or someone on a Reddit forum told you how horrible Bear Creek was, and they probably also think that Palmetto State Armory's PSA acronym stands for Poverty State Arms. And maybe at one time that was true. But like anything, you gotta work and work and work to make things better. And Bear Creek did just that with the Grizzly. I've got about 700 rounds through this Grizzly, which was provided to me by Bear Creek. But with me making them the promise that I would do no favors to them, and if it wasn't any good, or if I had issues, or if it was complete garbage, I was going to say so. The only stipulation that Bear Creek had for me was that if I experienced some sort of out-of-the-box weird failure or some catastrophic event, that I at least send it to them first to figure out what may or may not have happened, and then we went from there. But none of that has happened yet. 700 rounds in, and it's all fantastic. I don't buy into the torture testing like I'm from the swamps of either Louisiana or Florida sometimes, buying imported left-hand drive Japanese vehicles, all while sporting very short shorts in an inappropriate time of the year. I just like to run it. I have yet to clean this. The only thing I did when I got the Grizzly was I ran a bore brush down the barrel just to make sure that there was nothing after machining or through shipping that got into the barrel. Something you should do with even a $2,000 pistol. So why should you consider this over its bigger brother, its predecessor that set the market, known as the Glock? Pretty simple. At $295, you can buy an extra, 300, 400 rounds of ammunition, 2 extra magazines. Even though it comes with 2 Korean knockoff magazines, you can get legitimate Glock magazines, 2 of them, and 400 rounds of ammunition for about $450. About $50 less than what it would cost you just to get its predecessor, the G17, which will be missing so many features that this pistol has. In talking about what this pistol has, We have the steel sights, which are usable, photoluminescent, whatever that means. They do not glow in the dark, but they are pretty visible, kind of blue-greenish. Easy to track, easy to find. You're going to get a RMR cut from the factory, so you can put your fancy little dot on there, which I have yet to buy into the dot. I don't understand it creating another potential failure point, especially one that sits atop the rotating mass, which is going to punish it, punish it, punish it. That's if you get the screws tight enough and get the right mount, plate, what have you. But we're not here to talk about that. The internals of the Grizzly look pretty much just like you know and love from the G line of pistols. It's very hard to differentiate any difference at all, and crossover compatibility is very, very, very high. I've yet to actually try to put any of the G line stuff in here, as it's not really needed. It has a very good barrel. It has a very good trigger. Again, apparently, the trigger is so good that apparently not only does Bear Creek manufacture firearms, parts, and accessories, uppers, lowers, what have you, but apparently they manufacture something called Magic to make a pistol that costs $295 to have a fantastic trigger right out of the box. It was fantastic at the start before I had ever fired one single round out of it, even though it was test fired at the factory, and it has been fantastic ever since. I cannot notice any difference from shot 1 through shot 700 out of the Grizzly and its trigger. I have had one failure out of the Grizzly, which I actually caught on video, and if you were paying attention earlier, you probably saw it. At least I think I put it in this video earlier. I can only attribute it either to a low-powered round. It was shooting 115 grain American Armament Company. I guess it's still American Armament, or at least AAC, produced by PSA. 115 grain 9mm, in which it was a failure to eject, but the casing did not stovepipe. It just stuck in there perfectly parallel to the barrel, which was very odd. So it was either that, kind of maybe a squib round, or perhaps it was just a bad magazine. It was the KCI magazine, and I've switched back and forth, putting in Glock mags, putting in KCI magazines, all of those. Don't really notice too much of a difference, but have I mentioned how cool that the Grizzly is? I specifically requested one from BCA in zombie green, and I'll be damned if they didn't deliver it in zombie green. The guy at my local FFL was super stoked when he opened it and saw that it was zombie green. He was grinning ear to ear. It was fantastic. So, if you've stayed this long and are still watching, still going, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Think about subscribing if you would, commenting, what have you. But rule number 1 of the gun world, the Grizzly definitely has, which is be cool, look cool. Among all the fine sub $400 polymer options currently on the market, the debate of which is best is very polarizing. But it doesn't really matter so much which is best out of the box, because with all the aftermarket support, you can change out all of the things you want to change. So do not be disillusioned by the haters and the polarizers or the Redditors. Rise above those anime enjoyers all in their lonesome. Go forth, grab the crown, and become the gun champion in which you are destined to become. Stay frosty, use every day to become harder to kill, and stay toxic, America. And enjoy these money shots as we stare off into the setting Oklahoma sun. Toxic.